Welcome back, Mando.
Oh, greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 372nd Dark Lord Darkening Your Doorstep episode of MandoVision. And I am your host, Nargai Tom. Thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. So glad that you're here. Make sure you're reaching out to us on those socials at Mando_Vision on X and Insta. MandoVision at Blue Sky, and of course you can email me, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. Alright, Bucketheads, we are here. We are back for the finale of Maul, Shadow Lord. Yes, our second episode of the day. It's been a couple hours since I dropped that first one. And I watched the finale, and I just had my breath taken from me. Absolutely loved it. Spoilers. And we're going to talk about it. But listen, for the majority of our run here covering Maul, Shadow Lord, there's been a fair element of recapping the things that happen in this show. That will not be this episode, because this episode of the podcast, this episode of Maul that we are talking about, there's not a lot of thematic elements to get into. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it as best we can, but this is all action and emotion in this episode of the show. So we are going to do our best to give you the hardest hitting coverage that we can. But I want to dive into the episode. Again, I was already here. Hopefully you listened to our previous episode that dropped earlier today. And again, another reminder, happy May the 4th be with you. Hope you're out there enjoying Star Wars. Maybe you're finding some good deals on some Star Wars merch. You're adding to your collections. You're getting some new gear. Send me those pictures. Love to see what you guys are picking up. And let's go ahead and get into the particulars for this episode so that we can go ahead and do that thing we do where we get all up into it, all right? So, without further ado, this is Star Wars Maul, Shadow Lord, Season 1, Chapter 10, The Dark Lord. May 4th, 2026 is the original air date. Written by Matt Michnovitz and Brad Rao. Directed by Nate Villanueva. Our primary cast for this week: Sam Witwer, AJ Locascio, Charlie Bushnell, Chris Diamantopoulos, Dennis Haysbert, Gideon Adlin, Richard Ayoade, Scott White, and Wagner Mora. The plot. The plot for this one. One last test, one last chance to escape and survive. Ooh, yeah. Let's get into it. You know what that means. It's time. Strap on your buckets. And let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off.
You're going to have to relocate the covert.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So when this series first started, I compared Maul to something of a force of nature in it, as he, cut a swath through the criminal underworld of Janix. But in the second act of this series, things changed for Maul dramatically as the Empire arrived and he was put on his heels. So less of a force of nature and more of a person like the Jedi who needed to survive. And he tried to rail against this for a little while because, again, he is Maul. He is stubborn. He's locked into his ways, into doing what he wants to do. But now, as this episode opens and as the last one closed, Maul is confronted with a real, true force of nature in the Dark Lord of the Sith, Darth Vader. And I love this take on Vader. There's no talking. There's no chit-chat. There is no attempting to connive and weasel your way out of your fate, Darth Vader is there to kill you. And again, it's not like Murrock and 11th Brother are the chattiest of Cathys, but this Vader is a wrecking ball. He is there to kill on behalf of his lord, Darth Sidious. And it is excellent. I don't even have the words to sort of describe how awesome it was to watch. Again, you watched it, you know. But to see to see Vader square off against Maul, against the Jedi, against Brendan Lawson and Two Boots. Again, even though they don't know quite how outgunned they are in this fight, but to see Vader go up against all of them and very easily handle them, and then just go on a rampage against them, was something to behold. In the last episode, we saw a lot of Maul's forces being whittled away. You know, his Mandos, the last of his Night Brothers, Icarus, going into the toxic waste. And at the end, I mean, we weren't sure, but yeah, it's all over for Rook Cass as well, and the other Mandalorian who went with her. So Maul's forces dwindling at this point. Like, he's basically on his own now, right? We lost poor Spybot in one of the biggest tragedies of the season. And so with Maul's forces depleted, where do you think we turn our attention to now? Because where have we been going from the jump? Maul has been trying to get Devin to be his apprentice from the start. And now we find ourselves in a position where Maul's forces are gone, but Maul's going to Maul. Now it's up to Devin to experience loss. And loss hits a Jedi hard because despite their vows of no attachment, they get attached. And they make those connections and they forge those relationships with people. And it's all about to come crashing down around Devin as Vader goes to town on these people. And it is, again, the basic theme of this entire series has been for these characters to survive. Again, we are at the height of the Imperial war machine. They are bringing worlds into their power, and it's overwhelming forces. Like, you can't stop it. We've seen it throughout the show. It's wave after wave of stormtroopers, of Imperials. The numbers, the sheer volume of Imperials that coming after them is overwhelming. It's difficult to believe that a small number of these people could ever stand up to it, right? Because again, wave after wave of Imperials. So the basic element of this episode is to survive. Our characters, the characters we've been following, the Jedi, obviously Maul, the Lawsons, Two Boots. Survival is their main objective. Get to that ship, get to Drayden Voss, and get the heck off of Janix. And for the first time, our background changes, right? We leave Janix City. We're not in this just giant cityscape that we had gotten to know and became familiar with through the course of the show. No, we're outside of the city now. We're in the jungle. And in the jungle, this is where predators live. This is where predators rule. And Vader is the alpha predator out here in this jungle. And he still has Murrock and 11th Brother. They're not gone. They're part of this too. So our cast of our strange alliance of characters will do their best to survive and evade. For so much of the show, their plan of action has been stealthy, right? It's stealth and then fight, stealth and then fight. There's no more stealth. They are on the run. They have to make it to Drayden Voss or they are going to die. I think that's become very, very apparent to them all. And Vader is the biggest obstacle to that. But not only that, he's also potentially the obstacle to Maul getting what he wants, right? Or is he? Or is he actually the vehicle to get Maul where he needs to go with Devin? We'll talk about it. But yes, we are in the jungles. We go through the jungles outside of Janix City. We go into an ancient temple. We're on an ancient bridge. Wonderful visual backgrounds, as they have done throughout this show. The backdrops have been fantastic. I think they're visually interesting. They're very, very exciting. and they're very Star Warsy at the same time. So fighting in the old ruins of an old temple outside the main city of Janix is keeping up with Star Wars, right? It is all the things. And again, it's our heroes, we use the word loosely, but our alliance of characters evading Vader and then running headfirst into the other Inquisitors as well. We get a lot of stuff with Daki and Maul versus Vader. We get a lot of stuff with Devin and the others versus the Inquisitors versus the Imperials. Again, I'm not going to go through the combat because the combat's so good. You have to stay there and watch it. It's completely fantastic stuff. And I love the sequence when they're in the temple, when they're taking a moment to catch their breaths, and Maul sort of pondering, like who is this? Can this be who I think it is? And he's sort of like in disbelief that has come to this, that Sidious has dispatched this one, the chosen one, already to come and get him. But we don't have time for that sort of. We don't have time for that. There's too much going on. There's too much at stake, and survival is the order of the day. Eventually, we get ourselves into some really, again, more great lightsaber combat. Devin becomes separated from Daki and Maul. She's squaring off against Inquisitors. They're fighting Vader. And again, Vader. Let's put it this way. Okay, so Daki has his methods, right? He's very Jedi. And he says, we can't give in to anger. We can't give in to rage. And Vader's like, and Maul is like, this is the only way we are going to win. You must give in to anger. You must give in to aggression, or we are going to die. And Daki disagrees. And Daki's going to continue to fight the way he fights. But Maul knows. This guy being Vader, knows how the Jedi think, knows how the Jedi fight. So Daki's just wasting his time. And again, we get to some really nice combat between the two, Maul and Daki working together against Vader. But it's all for naught because Maul eventually sees his opportunity, right? He sees Devin squaring off against the Inquisitors, realizes she's in trouble, and sort of, again, sees the opportunity, shoves Daki into fighting Vader alone, knowing exactly what will happen, and ensuring that Devin's going to see what is going to happen, which is Vader killing Master Echo Diodaki right before our eyes to enrage Devin, to get Devin to react emotionally. Again, that Jedi connection that she has to her master, that father figure like person that is Master Diodaki, Iko Diodaki, full name for only friends. And now she wants revenge. Now she fights out of anger. She fights out of rage. And this is what Maul wanted. That the death of Diodaki at the hands of Vader is exactly what he wanted, what he needed to push her over the edge. And Maul comes to her aid against the Inquisitors. Vader gets into the fray. Meanwhile, we have Lawson and Two Boots and Riley and Vario. They're in the jungle against the Imperials. It's great stuff there as well as we're fighting wave after wave of stormtroopers. Dryden Voss is eventually going to get onto the world. But again, that volume of stormtroopers, that sheer just wave after wave of them is overwhelming. And Brander Lawson sees his son and Two Boots pinned down and decides that he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice. He's not been the father that he wants to be, but he's not going to be a father who lets his son die. So he makes the sacrifice, starts taking out stormtroopers as best he can to provide Two Boots and Riley with the cover fire to get to Dryden Voss's ship and escape, which they do. And again, we cut back to the temple. Maul knows he can't beat Vader. I think he's realized that very quickly. Not yet, at least. Devin is right there on the cusp, about to be his apprentice. He has to escape so that he can shape her into the weapon that he wants to. The weapon that he can then use to kill these Inquisitors, to kill Vader, to kill Darth Sidious. But they have to survive. They have to escape. So Maul does what Maul did a couple episodes ago. And he brings down this temple on Vader. And we know that merely slows down the Dark Lord of the Sith. It is by no means a way to achieve victory. Great sequence of Vader catching the rocks falling down on him, shoving them, cutting through them. Again, Vader is, again, a force of nature. He's unstoppable at this point. He just cuts a swath of destruction through this episode of the show, and it's fantastic. It's so good. And it really sets the stage for what's to come, because our characters, they do make it to Voss's ship. They do get off-world. They do elude the Empire. But again, now you've just really, probably more likely than not, angered Darth Vader. And I suspect this is just the first of several encounters we will get between Maul and Vader. Because I go back to what we saw of Maul in Rebels. And that is a Maul who is absolutely terrified of Darth Vader. So clearly there's still some ground to cover between those two characters. But Maul's made his way off-world. He made a deal with Drayden Voss to kill the head boss of Crimson Dawn, and instill Drayden Voss as its leader. Will he follow through with it to that exact specification? Well, that's to be determined. But more importantly, Devin has sided with Maul. She's willing to accept his mentorship, his teachings, so that they can get their revenge. And that is sort of the driving focus that we will spend so much time on in Season 2, right? Maul has what he wanted from the beginning. He has his apprentice. He has a force user that he intends to sharpen into a weapon that he can then poke at his former master with, his new apprentice, his master's new apprentice with. And I'm very excited for what's to come in Season 2. The potential there. We've stripped away so many of the characters that we got to know in this first season. Obviously, there's still some questions, like, does Riley stay with Devin and sort of be the angel on her one shoulder? Or do he and Two Boots depart? Before Brandon Lawson made his sacrifice, he made Two Boots promise to get Riley to his mother. His mother is an Imperial. Does this mean Riley is destined to become an Imperial as well? Or will the sacrifice of his father, the loss of his parental figure, cement him in joining the rebellion, becoming one of the early rebels that's out there? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess there's always the chance that, Riley goes to his mom and we don't see him ever again. Does the focus of the show shift so dramatically to just Maul and Devin? Or is there more to explore with Riley and Two Boots? As a fan of Two Boots, I'd love to see more of that character. I don't know what purpose he would serve at this point. He's a officer of the law who's now a fugitive. That could be interesting to explore. I'd like to see that and to consider that, but I don't know. And again, is the idea of Riley Lawson as sort of the counterpoint to Maul's dark influence strong enough to keep him on the show? I do feel like, narratively speaking, that makes a lot of sense. So that Devin feels conflicted about what Maul's teaching her. But again, at this point in time, after what she's just witnessed, after what she's just been through, she is extremely susceptible to Maul's teachings and has given in to her anger and to her darker emotions and felt that power. So the seduction of the dark side has begun, and Devin is now deep into it. But Devin's a character that I think we all know has somewhat of a limited potential, because we know that at some point Devin will either die or leave Maul. And that journey is worth exploring. I can't wait to see where we go from here. So a lot of questions as we head into the second season of this show, which I suspect is at least a year away. At least I hope it's only a year away. But a great finale, a great wrap-up. It's 10 buckets. It's 10 buckets. It's worth it just to watch Vader unleash his best Vader on these characters. And watch the combat style. Watch everything that he does. As we transition from the sort of like the more graceful Jedi fight choreography of the prequels to sort of the brute strength of the original films. And again, watch Vader's combat techniques. I mean, more often than not, he's beating these people down with one hand on his saber. It's fantastic stuff. I urge you to just enjoy the holy heck out of this. Good, great Star Wars stuff for your Star Wars May the 4th celebrations. 10 buckets. I can't wait for more. And I'm sure we'll talk about this series a little bit more in our next week's episode as I sort of digest and process even more of it, because I'm going to go back and be rewatching it later tonight as well. But yes, our heroes survive. There's sacrifices made, and the might of the Empire is known. Again, 11th brother, first brother, Vader. Everyone's still on their feet. Murdoch got a little cut up. I think 11th brother did as well, but everyone's just fine. Vader took a shot from Daki before he retired Master Daki. But yeah, dead Jedi on Vader's blade. The purge is still ongoing, my friends. 10 buckets. Go check it out. And that's all I have to say about that, at least for the moment. We may touch on this more next week. But yes, great, great stuff. Love this series. Can't wait for more. And I love that we're focusing on our darker characters right now. It's an avenue that we haven't gotten to explore a ton of. And I'm glad we're getting to do that in this space. So awesome first season. And I cannot wait for more. Oof, it's going to be good stuff. All right. That being said, I think it's time to get out of here. Happy May the 4th be with you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the MandoVision podcast. I am your host, Nargai Tom, and we're so glad that you're here, part of Buckethead Nation, supporting us, checking us out. Hit us up on those socials at Mando_Vision on X and Insta, MandoVision at Blue Sky, and of course you can email me, MandoVisionTom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. If you can, and you're so inclined, sweet 5-star reviews. They help us out, stand out, not get lost in the shuffle. And we appreciate anyone who takes the time to do that. All right, it's our day. Go out there, be great Star Wars fans, kind, supportive, respectful, understanding, tolerant, and patient. Unlike Maul. Maul's not patient at all. And we'll be back next week to talk more Star Wars. And if you are interested in thinking about doing it, remember those Star Wars celebration tickets for Los Angeles in 2027 go on sale Wednesday the 6th at 12 p.m. Pacific, which is 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And good luck and Godspeed with trying to do it. I'm going to make the effort, but I, much like Maul, I am not the most patient person when it comes to like these online queues. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. I'm shaking my head. You can't see it. It's not good for the podcast, but I'm shaking my head in just the anticipation of the frustration with which I will undoubtedly have to experience as I try to secure at least one day ticket to Celebration in 2027. But yes, that is Wednesday the 6th. But hey, it's May the 4th. Go out there, watch some Star Wars. We'll be back next week. But remember, in the meantime, this podcast, it only ends one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
I would like to see the baby.